Have you ever noticed your loved one's clothes fitting a little looser and wondered why? Maybe you're sitting across from them at dinner and they leave half their plate untouched, saying they just don't feel hungry. Or perhaps you've watched them pause mid-conversation as if gathering the energy to finish a sentence. It's tempting to shrug these moments off as normal aging, something that happens to everyone as the years go by. But sometimes those small shifts are actually early whispers from the body, hinting that it's beginning to wind down. And when we learn to listen, we can offer comfort, make meaningful memories, and ensure that our loved one's final season is as peaceful and dignified as possible. I'm speaking to you today because you've likely seen one or two of these signals already. You might have caught that subtle weight loss, felt the worry when a once vibrant parent became too tired to finish a walk around the block, or noticed your aunt zoning out in the middle of a family gathering. Recognizing these changes before they become more pronounced gives you time to prepare, both practically and emotionally. It's about shifting from a mindset of fixing to one of caring, so that every hour you spend together counts. In the next several minutes, we'll explore the first 2 of 5 signs that often appear up to a year before an elderly person passes away. These aren't meant to scare you, but to guide you. By understanding what's happening, you'll know how to respond in ways that bring comfort instead of anxiety. Let's begin with the most visible of these signals: unexplained weight loss. It happens slowly, almost imperceptibly at first. Maybe you notice one Sunday afternoon that Grandpa's favorite jacket seems baggier than it was just a few weeks ago, or you realize that Mom's belt is 2 notches tighter. Unintentional weight loss can send alarm bells because it often signals that the body isn't absorbing nutrients the way it used to. Even if the person still has a healthy appetite, their digestive system might struggle to process protein, leading to muscle wasting. When muscle mass diminishes too quickly, simple tasks, standing up from a chair, carrying a dish from the kitchen, become taxing. And when strength fades, the risk of falls increases, leaving them vulnerable to fractures or infections. Sometimes this weight loss begins with appetite changes. Foods that once tasted delicious might seem bland, and swallowing can feel uncomfortable, especially if dental issues go unaddressed. You might find your loved one pushing away steamed vegetables in favor of softer, easier-to-chew foods. That's a clue that the body is quietly saying, "I don't need as much fuel." Rather than trying to force large meals, focus on nutrient-dense options. Smooth soups with pureed vegetables, scrambled eggs, soft cheeses, or protein shakes designed for seniors. Small, frequent portions of their favorite comfort foods can help maintain both weight and spirits. And above all, keep mealtime warm and social. Encourage everyone at the table to share stories or memories so that eating isn't just about nutrition. It's a moment of connection. If you're already supplementing meals and still see pounds slipping away, it might be time to talk with a healthcare professional about underlying conditions. Chronic diseases, like heart failure, kidney decline, or even early-stage cancer, can cause the body to burn energy faster than it can take in. And mental health matters too. Depression or loneliness can severely dampen appetite. Inviting your parent or neighbor to walk through a local park, bring flowers, or simply sit in the sun might brighten their mood enough to rekindle interest in eating. Now, as we watch that belt inch tighter and plates return half full, another, quieter but equally powerful sign often appears: extreme fatigue and weakness. Perhaps you've come in to say good morning and found them still wrapped in blankets, too tired to come downstairs. Maybe they used to tend the garden every afternoon, but now a short walk to the mailbox leaves them breathless. This isn't the typical, "I stayed up too late and I'm a little tired" feeling. It's a deep, bone-weary exhaustion that no amount of rest seems to cure. When an elderly person experiences this level of fatigue, it's often because the body is conserving every bit of energy it has left. Heart function may be slowing. circulation weaker, and muscles no longer receive the oxygen they once did. That's why getting out of bed can feel like a monumental task, and why just preparing a simple meal feels overwhelming. It's also why naps stretch into hours, and why someone who used to enjoy puzzles or crossword games can't keep their eyes open for more than a few minutes. What can you do when the person you love seems to be running on empty? First, respect their limits. Pushing them to do more, take a walk, wash the dishes, entertain guests, won't help. It may only lead to frustration or physical strain. Instead, create opportunities for rest. Make sure their favorite chair is nearby with a soft blanket and a pillow for support. Encourage short, gentle movements, a few minutes of stretching in bed or some seated leg lifts, just enough to keep muscles engaged without exhausting them. If they used to read every night but now struggle to focus, consider audiobooks or having someone read aloud. That way, they remain connected to stories without straining their eyes. Emotional fatigue often accompanies physical exhaustion. It's heartbreaking to watch someone who once took pride in their independence now feel embarrassed for needing help to brush their teeth or get dressed. As caregivers or family members, our encouragement matters most. A simple, "You're doing great," as they slowly stand up, or "Let me help you with that jacket," can remind them they aren't alone. Encourage them to express how they feel. Maybe it's fear, sadness, or frustration, and offer reassurance that needing a hand is okay. By creating an environment where vulnerability is met with compassion, you help ease the emotional toll that fatigue brings. As unintentional weight loss and overwhelming tiredness persist, it's natural to wonder, are these isolated issues, or do they point to something more? Often, these early signs feed into each other. When a person loses muscle mass, their endurance drops. When they're too fatigued to cook or go shopping, their nutrition might take another hit. This downward spiral can accelerate, which is precisely why noticing these two signs early makes such a difference. With the right support, nutritional options that appeal, rest periods that honor the body's needs, and heartfelt emotional encouragement, you can slow the momentum of decline and focus on comfort rather than cure. Now that we've explored how weight can slip away and how fatigue seeps in, two powerful signals that the body is shifting its priorities, our attention turns to the mind itself, how thinking patterns change, how confusion can emerge, and how withdrawal from social life begins. In these next moments, we'll gently unravel those mental and emotional signs so that you're prepared to support your loved one every step of the way. When you notice that familiar glint in someone's eye beginning to cloud over, it can be hard to put into words. You might see your mother hesitate mid-sentence, as though the word she wanted is just out of reach. Or perhaps your uncle, who could once recount the tiniest family anecdotes, finds himself asking the same questions twice in a single afternoon. These moments can feel jarring, especially when the person you love has always been quick-witted and lively. Yet, as sage as that mind once was, our brains, like the rest of our bodies, sometimes start to slow down as they prepare for the end of the journey. This isn't simply forgetting where you put your glasses. It's a deeper shift in how a person thinks, communicates, and engages with the world. You might first notice this change during a casual visit. Maybe your parent is sitting in their favorite armchair, quietly staring at the television. But when you walk in, they don't immediately recognize you. You introduce yourself, and they blink, as though trying to place your face. Or, perhaps, your loved one becomes easily overwhelmed by a crowded room. Family holiday dinners that used to bring joy now leave them anxious and withdrawn. It's not that they don't want to be part of the celebration. Their brain simply takes longer to process the noise, the faces, the laughter. So they sit in a corner, fidgeting with their hands, unable to follow every conversation. These moments of confusion can be heartbreaking to witness. It's natural to feel hurt or frustrated. After all, you know yourself, and you know them. But in these instances, patience is the kindest response. If they pause in the middle of a sentence, Gently offer the word they seem to be searching for, or simply wait a little longer before repeating yourself. When their mind drifts away from the present, steer the conversation to something familiar, a shared memory, a song they love, or the name of a grandchild. These anchors can bring them back, if only for a breath. What matters is not that every word is crisp, but that they feel safe, respected, and connected. Another sign you might observe is a growing tendency to withdraw. Someone who once looked forward to bridge night with friends might now find any invitation so draining they'd rather stay home. They might stop calling to share news or decline phone calls because talking feels like too much effort. This isn't stubbornness or rudeness, it's simply their natural instinct to conserve what energy is left. When the brain struggles to focus, engaging socially becomes a chore, and solitude, even if tinged with sadness, can feel more manageable than the stress of conversation. If you see this withdrawal, it helps to strike a gentle balance. Continue to invite them out for coffee or a short walk, but let them know there's no pressure. Say something like, "I'll be around this afternoon if you'd like some company, but if you'd rather rest, that's okay too." Offer quiet activities they once loved, reading a familiar book aloud, listening to music from their youth, or simply looking through old photographs together. These low-key moments can spark recognition, stir pleasant memories, and remind them that even when words fade, love still resonates. Alongside these changes in cognition and social engagement, you might start seeing more frequent infections and wounds that take ages to heal. In younger years, a cut on the hand might close up in a week. In late life, that same small scratch can linger for weeks, and minor colds might snowball into persistent coughs or low-grade fevers. Every time your loved one says, "I'm fine," yet seems listless for days on end, pay attention. Their body is no longer able to mount the same defenses it once did. The first time your parent calls to say they're feeling under the weather, you might think it's just a simple cold. But if they seem confused about where they are, or they're suddenly too tired to come to the phone, that's often a sign the infection is taxing them more heavily than usual. Instead of getting better in a few days, they might find themselves slipping back under the covers, not able to summon the strength to reach for a glass of water. Checking in, not just once but twice a day, can help you see whether their energy levels are dipping further. If they have a cough that lingers beyond a week, or a low fever that won't go away, it's wise to reach out to a doctor sooner rather than later. Sometimes a urinary tract infection or a mild pneumonia can be managed quickly if caught early, bringing a measure of relief and preventing further complications. Equally concerning are those stubborn wounds that resist healing. A tiny bruise on an arm might develop into a small ulcer, or a sore on their heel can become an open wound. Poor circulation, which often shows as cold hands and feet, or a mottled, bluish tint around the toes, means that oxygen and nutrients aren't getting to the skin efficiently. If you notice a hard-to-heal sore, consider changing their position more often, ensuring they don't stay in one posture for too long. Supportive cushions or specialized bedding can help relieve pressure on bony areas. Cleaning the area gently, applying recommended ointments, and keeping it covered can also stave off infection. Still, if the sore worsens, a home health nurse or wound care specialist might need to step in. But beyond the physical sign of a lingering sore, watch for more subtle hints that an infection is brewing. If they're usually alert in the morning but suddenly spend the day sleeping, or if their confusion spikes dramatically, even without fever, something is off. In seniors, sometimes a shift in mental alertness is the first clue that the body is battling an unseen invader. When you notice this, don't assume it's just a bad day. Reach out to their healthcare provider, explain the change, and ask whether a blood test or a simple exam could catch an underlying infection before it worsens. Throughout all of this, cognitive shifts, withdrawal from social life, lingering, infections, stubborn wounds, Your role is not to fix every issue, but to support their comfort. Maybe you find your mother sitting quietly on the porch swing, staring off into the distance. Instead of urging her to get up and move around, bring out a soft blanket, set a glass of iced tea on the nearby table, and join her in silence. Hand her a lightweight throw if a breeze kicks up. Sit close enough that she can sense your presence, knowing that sometimes your nearness is more reassuring than any words. As we've walked gently through these middle signs, you might feel a swirl of emotions: worry, sadness, maybe even a touch of guilt, thinking you should have noticed sooner. It's important to remember that these changes often creep in very slowly. The first time Grandpa's footsteps sounded just a bit heavier, it was easy to chalk it up to a long day. The initial confusion might have seemed like just a bad day, and the fleeting fever seemed to resolve with a little rest. By the time these signs add up, the moment to act is now. And acting doesn't always mean dramatic interventions. It means meaningful gestures, more visits, softer words, a gentle reminder that although their body may be faltering, their heart and spirit remain cherished. Soon, in our next conversation, we'll explore what to look for when breathing becomes more labored, or when circulation slows so much that hands and feet take on a different hue. We'll talk about how to make those moments as comfortable as possible, knowing that while change is inevitable, compassion can make the journey gentler. For now, focus on observing these mental and physical clues, offering rest when fatigue runs deep, keeping a watchful eye for infections, and creating spaces where your loved one feels safe to share their feelings, even when words drift away. You've been so attentive, watching for those mental shifts and stubborn infections, and now we come to perhaps the most visible and, for many families, the most concerning sign: changes in breathing and circulation. When someone's breathing pattern starts to alter, it's often the body's way of saying it's redirecting precious energy toward core functions. You might notice that your loved one breathes more shallowly, pauses between inhales and exhales, or sometimes takes a few quick deep breaths followed by a long pause. This pattern, often called Cheney-Stokes breathing, can feel unsettling to watch, but it's really the body's gentle rhythm of slowing down. Imagine walking into your parents' room and finding them lying propped up with pillows, almost as if they're trying to make each breath a little easier. Perhaps evenings become particularly difficult. The day's warmth settles into their chest, and they start to cough softly, as though their lungs feel heavy. They might shift in bed, trying to find a position that eases the tightness, or ask for the window to be opened just a crack so the cool air can relieve the feeling of stifling heat. At times you may see their chest rise and fall unevenly, or notice that when they speak a sentence, they have to pause halfway through to catch their breath. This change in breathing is often accompanied by a slowing of the heart's output. You might gently touch their hand and discover it's cool to the touch, even if the room is warm. Their fingertips could take on a slight bluish tint, or their face might look paler than normal. These subtle color shifts are the result of the body prioritizing blood flow to vital organs, leaving the extremities a bit starved of warmth. When you see these signs, it can be unnerving, as though every breath and every beat of the heart is a countdown. But understanding that this is part of the natural progression can ease some of the fear. So what can you do when you notice these changes? First, focus on simple comforts. Keep the room at a comfortable temperature, neither too hot nor too cold, to help them breathe more easily. If dryness aggravates their throat, offer small sips of water or ice chips. Sometimes a gentle spritz from a misting bottle can soothe their airways. A cool, damp cloth on their forehead and the back of their neck can bring relief without startling them. For those deeper breaths, you might find that a small fan set on low, positioned to circulate air gently across their face, can help reduce the sensation of breathlessness. Medications or oxygen, when prescribed by a doctor, can also play a role. If your loved one has been using a portable oxygen concentrator, you may notice they need it for longer periods or at higher flow rates than before. That's simply because the lungs are working harder to keep up with the body's demands. If you see them struggle to speak even a short sentence, or if you watch them rest awkwardly in a recliner because lying flat makes breathing too difficult, these are clear signals that it's time to involve their healthcare team. In some cases, a small dose of morphine or another medication can ease the feeling of breathlessness, allowing them to rest without fear of suffocation. These medications aren't about hastening an outcome. They're about relief, about making each breath feel less like a struggle and more like a quiet, natural pause between moments. As circulation slows, you may also notice that a once rosy complexion grows pale or mottled. Their hands and feet could feel cooler, and the veins on their wrists may appear less prominent. When you place your hand over theirs, you might find that the pulse is faint but regular. If the pulse starts to flutter or feel erratic, that can be alarming, but it may simply be the heart adjusting its rhythm as it shares fewer resources with the limbs. When you see these signs, there's no need to panic, but it does call for focused comfort measures. Warm blankets if they feel chilled, gentle massage on their arms and legs to promote circulation, and encouraging them to wiggle their fingers and toes if they can, even for a moment. These tiny movements send a message to their veins. Keep the blood flowing, even if only a little. You might wonder, at what point do we shift entirely from medical interventions to pure comfort care? There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but often, families find themselves at this juncture when breathing becomes too laborious for simple conversation, when bed sores emerge faster than they can be relieved, or when infections resist treatment in spite of antibiotics. And in those moments, what brings the greatest solace is knowing you're offering compassion instead of more interventions that might feel harsh or futile. It's about lowering the lights, playing soft music, reading a favorite poem, or just holding a hand until the rhythm of breath and heartbeat slows to a comforting whisper. Now, as we move toward the close of our conversation, let's weave together everything we've explored. The unexpected weight loss that signals deeper nutritional shifts, the overwhelming fatigue that leaves bones weary, the cognitive confusion and emotional withdrawal that cloud the mind, the frequent infections and wounds that linger far too long, and finally, the changes in breathing and circulation that herald the body's final journey. None of these signs exist in isolation. They are interconnected pieces of a larger picture, a gentle tapestry woven by the body's quiet preparation for its last chapter. Understanding these signs equips you, as a caretaker, child, spouse, or friend, to respond not with fear or denial, but with empathy and thoughtful kindness. It means knowing that when weight fades, the goal isn't to force a feast, but to share a small bowl of nourishing soup at a brightly set table. It means when fatigue takes hold, instead of pushing for one more task, you offer a warm blanket and a loved one's favorite song. When words slip away, you can sit in silence and simply hold their hand, reminding them that being together doesn't require conversation. When an infection lingers or a bruise refuses to heal, you understand that routine doctor visits and gentle wound care matter more now than ever. And when breathing becomes uneven, you transform the room into a space of quiet comfort, making each moment as soothing as a soft lullaby. All of these efforts create something profoundly meaningful. Peace. Peace for the person whose body is changing day by day, and peace for you, who loves them fiercely. You'll look back on these final months or weeks not with regret, but with gratitude for having seen each sign clearly, for having answered every whisper with tender care. This journey is not measured in grand gestures, but in small acts of presence. A warm hand on a cold forehead, a whispered, "I love you," in the early morning quiet, or the soft hum of a familiar hymn as evening drifts in. So as you move forward, remember this: there is no right way to feel, no perfect script to follow. Your tears or your quiet determination are both beautiful responses to a complex time. What matters most is that you are here, that you notice, that you act with love. If these moments feel overwhelming, lean on trusted friends or faith leaders for support. Share your heart with those who understand the weight of watching a loved one near life's end. Their stories, their shoulders, and their listening ears can be a balm when sorrow feels too heavy to bear alone. If you've walked through these signs with someone you love, you know the mixture of grief and profound connection that arises when the body prepares to say goodbye. In the days ahead, cherish the simple conversations, maybe a memory from decades ago, a favorite joke, or a shared song lyric. These small treasures become the threads that hold your heart together when their body finally rests. Before we finish, I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed any of these signs in a family member or friend? How did you respond, and what helped bring you both comfort? Please share your experiences in the comments below. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to feel less alone. If this video brought clarity or peace to your heart, consider clicking the like button and subscribing so we can continue this journey together. Every subscription helps us create more content focused on real, caring ways to support our loved ones. Thank you for being here, for opening your heart to a topic that isn't always easy to discuss. Remember, in every breath that comes and goes, in every gentle sigh or pause, love is what remains. Let us carry that love forward, ensuring our precious ones know they are seen, heard, and cherished, right up until the very end.